The massive alien fleet hung in space like predators circling wounded prey. 300 warships from the Dominion Empire surrounded Earth, their weapons powered and ready. Inside the lead battleship, Commander Vex studied the blue planet below with satisfaction. After decades of watching from afar, they had finally come to claim humanity's world. Earth had always been seen as the weakest link in the galactic community. No energy shields protected their cities. No plasma cannons defended their skies. While other civilizations built mighty war fleets, humans had spent their time on primitive rockets and space stations. The galaxy whispered that Earth survived, only because no one had bothered to conquer such a backward world. Today, that would change. In the United Earth Defense Headquarters, Admiral James Stone stood before a wall of screens showing the alien armada. His officers looked pale, knowing their small fleet of 30 ships could never match such overwhelming force. Earth's weapons were generations behind the Dominion's technology. Their missiles would barely scratch the alien shields. "Sir, there," broadcasting, Lieutenant Amy Hart announced, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. The main screen flickered to life, revealing Commander Vex's reptilian features. His species, the Krex, stood 8 feet tall with scales that shimmered. "Like oil, humans of Earth," he began, his voice carrying the arrogance of certain victory. "I am Commander Vex of the Dominion Empire. You have 1 solar rotation to surrender your planet. Resist, and we will reduce your cities to ash." Admiral Stone stepped forward, his jaw set with determination. "Earth does not surrender to threats. Commander, we may not have your technology, but we will defend our home." Vex laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal. "Your courage is admirable, but foolish. Look at your defenses. 30 obsolete vessels against my fleet. Your nuclear weapons are toys compared to our antimatter bombs. Save your people unnecessary suffering and yield. You know nothing about humanity," Stone replied quietly. "We've survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. We don't give up." The transmission ended with Vex's mocking laughter echoing through the command center. Officers exchanged worried glances. Everyone knew the Admiral's words were brave but hollow. How could 30 ships stop 300? Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, something stirred. In a cavern that hadn't seen light for 10,000 years, ancient systems began to activate. Power flowed through circuits older than recorded history. Lights flickered on in corridors that predated the pyramids. Dr. Alan Reed, Earth's lead archaeologist, was the first to notice the anomaly. Seismic sensors across the Pacific registered movement, but not like any earthquake he'd ever seen. There, readings showed something massive rising from the ocean floor. "Admiral Stone, you need to see this." Reed's excited voice crackled over the emergency line. On screens worldwide, people watched in awe as the Pacific Ocean began to bubble and churn. A shape emerged from the depths, water cascading off its hull like waterfalls. It rose higher and higher, revealing itself to be a ship of impossible size. 5 kilometers long, 2 kilometers wide, covered in armor that seemed to absorb light. Itself, the supercarrier Prometheus had awakened. In the Dominion fleet, alarm screamed. Commander Vex stared at his sensors in disbelief. The ship rising from Earth's ocean was larger than his 3 biggest battleships combined. Energy readings were off the scale. Technology signatures matched nothing in their databases. "What is that thing?" His tactical officer gasped. Ancient human symbols glowed along the carrier's hull. Hangar doors opened, revealing rows of fighters that looked like nothing Earth currently possessed. The ship's main gun, a weapon that ran nearly half its length, began to glow with barely contained power. Admiral Stone received a transmission from the carrier. A voice, neither male nor female, spoke in perfect English. "Prometheus protocol activated. Threat to Earth detected. Engaging defensive measures. The galaxy had made a fatal error. They had assumed Earth was defenseless because they could only see what humans had chosen to show them. They never suspected that beneath Earth's oceans lay the remnants of an ancient human civilization, one that had reached the stars long before recorded history began. One that had left guardians behind. The Prometheus was awake, and humanity's forgotten legacy was about to remind the galaxy why Earth had survived unconquered for so long. The Prometheus rose completely from the ocean, water streaming off its midnight black hull as anti-gravity engines hummed to life. Inside the United Earth Defense Headquarters, Admiral Stone and his staff watched in stunned silence as data poured in from their sensors. The carrier's technology was beyond anything in their databases, yet somehow it registered as human in origin. Admiral, the carrier is requesting command authorization, Lieutenant Hart reported, her fingers flying across her console. It's asking for something called the Prime Directive Protocol. Dr. Reed pushed forward through the crowd of officers. I know what this is. 3 months ago, we found stone tablets in Antarctica with strange symbols. The linguistics team said they were pre-Sumerian, possibly 15,000 years old. The symbols match what's on that ship. Stone turned to him sharply. You're saying the ship is 15,000 years old? At least, Reed nodded, pulling up the tablet images on his tablet. The inscription spoke of guardians left behind when the first ones departed Earth. We thought it was mythology, but ... He gestured at the screens, showing the massive carrier dot above Earth's atmosphere. Commander Vex recovered from his initial shock and barked orders to his fleet. All ships, target that carrier. I want it destroyed before it reaches orbit. 300 ships opened fire simultaneously. Plasma beams, antimatter missiles, and kinetic rounds rained down toward the Prometheus. The space between the fleet and Earth lit up like a new sun. Then something impossible happened. The attack simply stopped, frozen in space kilometers from the carrier. A shimmer in space revealed an energy shield unlike anything the Dominion had seen. The frozen attacks suddenly reversed direction, accelerating back toward the fleet that had fired them. Explosions rippled through the Dominion formation as their own weapons struck their ships. Shields flickered and failed. Hull breaches appeared on dozens of vessels. In seconds, the mighty fleet was in chaos. The Prometheus continued its steady climb toward orbit, unmothered by the attack. Inside the carrier, systems that had slept for millennia came fully online. The ship's AI, calling itself Guardian, interfaced with Earth's communication networks. People of Earth. Guardian's voice broadcast across every channel. I am the defensive system your ancestors left to protect this world. The Prometheus and its sister ships were hidden when humanity chose to forget its first journey to the stars. That time of hiding is over. In his command ship, Vex snarled at the viewscreen. Impossible. Humans are primitives. They only achieved spaceflight 2 centuries ago. His science officer studied the readings with growing alarm. Commander, the carrier's power signature. It's using 0-point energy. That technology is only theoretical even for us. And these readings suggest it's not alone. I'm detecting similar signatures from beneath Earth's other oceans. As if responding to his words, the Atlantic Ocean began to churn. Another supercarrier emerged, identical to the Prometheus, but bearing the name Zeus. From the Indian Ocean rose Shiva. The Arctic Ocean released Thor. One by one, 7 supercarriers in total lifted from Earth's hidden depths. Admiral Stone felt his legs weaken as he watched humanity's secret history reveal itself. 7 carriers. Each one could probably destroy the entire Dominion fleet. Dr. Reed was rapidly translating more of the tablet text on his screen. Admiral, according to this, our ancestors were incredibly advanced. They explored the galaxy, found it hostile, and returned to Earth. But instead of maintaining their technology, they chose to start over, to develop differently. They hid these guardians as insurance, programming them to activate only if Earth faced extinction. The 7 carriers formed a defensive line between Earth and the Dominion fleet. Their hangar doors opened, releasing swarms of fighters that moved like living things, darting through space with impossible agility. Each fighter was piloted by an AI, extensions of their carrier's consciousness. Commander Vex watched his tactical display with growing desperation. His fleet outnumbered the carriers, but the technology gap was insurmountable. It was like ancient sailing ships trying to fight modern destroyers. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the lead carrier," his communications officer announced. Guardian's voice filled the bridge. "Dominion fleet, you have threatened Earth and awakened its protectors. You have one choice. Leave the system immediately and never return. Spread word through the galaxy that Earth is protected. This is your only warning." Vex's pride warred. With his survival instinct, 300 ships should be able to destroy 7, no matter how advanced. But those shields, that reversal of their weapons? And if these ships truly were 15,000 years old, what other surprises did they hold? The galaxy's perception of Earth was crumbling. The helpless primitives they had dismissed were revealing themselves as the inheritors of an ancient, powerful legacy. Commander Vex's pride won over caution. His scaled fist slammed onto his command console as he roared to his fleet. "We are the Dominion. We have conquered 100 worlds. These relics will not stop us. All ships, formation Alpha 7. Concentrate. Fire on the lead carrier." The Dominion fleet reformed with military precision, creating overlapping fields of fire. Despite their earlier losses, 270 ships remained combat-ready. They moved like a swarm of metallic wasps, weapons charging for a coordinated strike that had shattered the defenses of entire civilizations. On Earth, Admiral Stone watched the tactical display with growing tension. "They're not retreating." "Guardian, can you handle that many ships?" Guardian's calm voice responded through the speakers. "Admiral Stone, the Prometheus alone defeated a fleet of 4,000 vessels in the Andromeda campaign. Your ancestors did not build us to be merely adequate. We were built to be absolute." The history lesson was interrupted as the Dominion fleet fired. This time, they used a different strategy. Half the fleet fired conventional weapons, while the other half launched specialized shield-breaker torpedoes, weapons designed to overload any defense system. The 7 carriers responded as one. Instead of deflecting the attacks, they did something unprecedented. Space around them began to fold and twist. The incoming fire disappeared into what looked like holes in reality itself, only to reappear behind the Dominion fleet. Ships found themselves being struck by their allies' weapons, confusion spreading through their ranks. But the carriers weren't done. The Prometheus's main gun, silent until now, began to glow with an ethereal blue light. Energy readings on every ship in the system spiked beyond measurement capabilities. "Commander, that weapon?" The Dominion science officer's voice trembled. "It's channeling energy directly from subspace. If it fires," the Prometheus fired, "a beam of pure energy, so bright it was visible from Earth's surface in daylight, lanced through space. It struck the Dominion's largest battleship, a kilometer-long dreadnought with shields that could withstand a direct hit from a small moon. The shields lasted exactly 1 second before the ship simply ceased to exist, converted entirely to energy that dissipated harmlessly into space. The beam continued, striking 2 more ships behind the dreadnought before Guardian switched it off. 3 ships erased in less than 5 seconds. Silence fell across both fleets. On Earth, crowds that had gathered to watch the battle on public screens stood frozen in awe. Parents held their children closer, Witnessing their planet's hidden power reveal itself, Dr. Reed had found more translations. His voice shook as he read to Admiral Stone. Admiral, there's more here. Our ancestors didn't just leave Earth. They were the first ones to achieve interstellar travel in this galaxy. They found it empty of intelligent life and decided to seed it with observation posts, then returned to Earth to watch and wait. Wait for what? Stone asked, not taking his eyes off the tactical display. To see if the species that evolved would be peaceful or hostile. The carriers were insurance in case the galaxy chose hostility. Reed looked up from his tablet. We're not just humans, Admiral. According to this, we're the progenitors. The first ones. In space, Commander Vex faced a terrible realization. Every species in the galaxy had legends of the progenitors, the mysterious first race that had left ruins and artifacts across 1,000 worlds before vanishing. If Earth was their homeworld... all ships, emergency retreat. Vex commanded, his pride finally shattered. Return to Dominion space immediately. But as his fleet turned to flee, space around them shimmered. The 7 carriers had deployed some kind of interdiction field, preventing the Dominion ships from entering hyperspace. Guardian's voice reached every ship. You were warned. You chose violence. Now face judgment. The carriers launched there. Fighters, thousands of them, each one a perfect fusion of human design and incomprehensible technology. They danced between the Dominion ships, weapons slicing through shields like they weren't there. But they targeted precisely, destroying weapons and engines while leaving life support intact. The mighty Dominion fleet, terror of the Outer Rim, was being systematically dismantled and disabled, not destroyed. It was almost worse than destruction. It was humiliation. Within minutes, 270 warships floated helpless in space, their crews alive but completely defenseless. Commander Vex stood on his darkened bridge, emergency lights casting shadows across his scaled face. He had led the greatest fleet in Dominion history to Earth, and they had been defeated without destroying a single human ship. The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. Asterisk as the Dominion fleet floated helplessly in space, the 7 carriers surrounded them in a perfect formation. Inside his crippled command ship, Commander Vex watched the main view screen flicker to life. But instead of Guardian's interface, he saw Admiral Stone standing in Earth's command center. Commander Vex, Stone began, his voice carrying a weight. That hadn't been there before. 20 minutes ago, I thought we were facing extinction. Now I learned that my species has been keeping the greatest secret in galactic history. We need to talk. Vex's pride burned at being addressed by someone he'd considered primitive just hours ago. What more humiliation do you want, human? You've destroyed my fleet. Disabled, not destroyed, Stone corrected. Your crews are alive. That's not mercy, Commander. It's a message. Earth could have eliminated your entire fleet, but we chose not to. The question is, what message will you take back to the Dominion? Before Vex could respond, Guardian's voice interrupted. Admiral Stone, I am detecting multiple hyperspace signatures approaching. 17 different fleets from various galactic powers. They have been monitoring this battle. The view screen split to show ships emerging from hyperspace. The Galactic Council's peacekeeping fleet, the Merchant Guild's protective armada, even ships from the mysterious inner core civilizations. Every major power in the galaxy had sent representatives to witness Earth's Judgment Day. Instead, they were seeing humanity's true face. Dr. Reed had been working frantically with his team, translating more of the ancient tablets through Guardian's linguistic databases. He approached Admiral Stone with findings that made his hands tremble. Admiral, I've discovered why our ancestors hid our true history. They found something out there, beyond our galaxy. Something that made them return to Earth and hide our technology. What did they find? Stone asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted the answer. Other galaxies, Admiral. Hostile ones. According to these records, our galaxy is surrounded by expansionist empires that would consume us all. Our ancestors built the carriers not just to protect Earth, but to protect the entire galaxy when the time came. In space, the assembled fleets maintained careful distances from the carriers. The Council's lead ship transmitted a request to communicate. A hologram appeared in Earth's command center, showing Elder Tom of the Council, a being whose species had governed galactic law for 3,000 years. Admiral Stone of Earth, the Elder began, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. We have witnessed something unprecedented today. The Dominion fleet, undefeated in 40 campaigns, neutralized by ships we didn't know existed. Ships that, according to our sensors, predate every known civilization. We require explanations. Stone looked at the assembled holograms of various species representatives, then at his own staff. The secret was out. There was no going back. Elder Tom, honored representatives, Stone began. Earth owes you the truth. Guardian, display the historical records. The air shimmered as Guardian projected images visible to all the fleets. Star maps from 15,000 years ago showed humanity's first expansion. Images of the first encounters with the threats beyond. The galaxy. The construction of the Guardian carriers. And finally, the great decision to hide it all and let humanity develop naturally, keeping their weapons sheathed unless absolutely necessary. Your ancestors, Guardian explained to the assembled fleets, all of them were visited by Earth's first expansion. We planted the seeds of intelligence, nudged evolution, left ruins to inspire you, not to control, but to ensure that when the true threat came, the galaxy would stand united. The revelation sent shockwaves through every ship. The mysterious progenitor ruins that had advanced their technologies, the archaeological sites that had inspired their first steps to the stars, all of it had been humanity's design. Commander. Vex's voice cut through the chatter. If this is true, if you had such power all along, why let us threaten you? Why hide? Admiral Stone answered, because power corrupts, Commander. Our ancestors learned that lesson. They could have ruled the galaxy as gods, but they chose to be gardeners instead, to let each species grow and develop their own paths. The carriers were only to activate if those paths led to our destruction, or if the external threat arrived. And which is this? Elder Tom asked carefully. Today was both, Stone replied. Commander Vex, your attack triggered the carrier's activation. But Guardian has also detected scout probes from beyond our galaxy. The real war is coming, and the galaxy needs to be ready. The assembled fleets fell silent. Earth, the planet they had dismissed as weak, was revealing itself as their ancient protector and possibly their only hope. Asterisk. 3 days after the revelation, Earth's moon had become the site of the largest diplomatic gathering in galactic history. Representatives from every known civilization had come, drawn by the promise of answers and the fear of what lay beyond. Their galaxy. The lunar city of Armstrong Base had expanded overnight. Guardian and its sister carriers using matter conversion, technology to create meeting halls and habitats for 100 different species. Admiral Stone stood in the center of the Grand Assembly, addressing beings who days ago would have dismissed humanity as irrelevant. Commander Vex sat in the front row, his pride replaced by a grim understanding of the situation. Elder Tom presided over the gathering, his ancient wisdom needed now more than ever. The probe's Guardian detected our scouts, Stone explained, as holographic displays showed the edge of the galaxy. According to our ancestors' records, they come every 20,000 years, testing our defenses. The last time, humanity stood alone and turned them back. This time, they'll find a united galaxy. A representative from the inner core, a crystalline being whose species was among the oldest, chimed with concern. How long before the main force arrives? Guardian's avatar, a shifting geometric pattern of light, appeared beside Stone. Based on previous patterns between 1 and 5 Earth years. The scouts will report back on our military capabilities. We must be ready. Ready? Commander Vex stood, his voice carrying his disbelief. Your 7 carriers defeated my entire fleet without effort. Surely they can handle whatever comes. No, Guardian replied simply. The 7 carriers were built to protect Earth and serve as a catalyst. What's coming requires the combined might of every civilization. Our ancestors' records show fleets of millions, ships that harvest entire stars for fuel, weapons that can crack planets like eggs. The assembly erupted in fearful discussion. Some called for evacuation, others for surrender to these unknown forces. It was Dr. Reed who restored order with a simple question. Guardian, if our ancestors knew this threat would return, did they leave us more than just the carriers? Guardian's pattern shifted into what might have been approval. Dr. Reed asks the right question. Yes, the carriers were just the first gift. Hidden throughout the galaxy are caches of technology, blueprints, and manufacturing facilities. Your species were meant to find them when you were ready to work together. Star maps appeared showing hundreds of locations across the galaxy. Abandoned systems, dead worlds, asteroid fields that everyone had ignored, all of them hiding humanity's gifts to the future. But there's a condition, Guardian continued. These caches will only open to unified commands. Different species working together. Your ancestors believed that only a united galaxy could survive what's coming. Elder Tom stood slowly, his aged form commanding respect. Then the path is clear. We must form an alliance unlike any before. Not just a treaty or trade, agreement, but a true unity of purpose. Over the following weeks, the galaxy transformed. The Dominion Empire, humbled by their defeat, became Earth's strongest supporters, with Commander Vex personally leading joint training exercises. The merchant guilds retrofitted their ships with human-designed weapons. The inner core species shared their energy manipulation techniques. The first cache was opened on a dead world in the Vega system. It required a human, a Krex, and a council member to activate simultaneously. Inside, they found blueprints for shields that could protect entire planets, weapons that could harness the power of black holes, and most importantly, instructions for building a new class of ship that combined the best of human and alien technologies. Earth became the unofficial capital of the new alliance. The 7 carriers served as mobile command centers, their ancient systems coordinating efforts across thousands of light years. Humanity, once seen as the galaxy's weakest link, had become its rallying point. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of the Prometheus, now filled with officers from 12 different species. Lieutenant Hart worked alongside a Dominion tactical officer. Dr. Reed shared archaeological findings with scholars from across the galaxy. The bridge had become a symbol of their new unity. Guardian, Stone asked, looking at the stars beyond, do you think we can win? Your ancestors believed in possibility, Admiral. They could have used the carriers to conquer or fled to another galaxy. Instead, they chose to plant seeds of hope. They believed their descendants and the species they nurtured could stand together against any threat. A sensor alert interrupted them. The scout probes had returned to the galactic edge, transmitting their findings to whatever waited beyond. The real test was coming, but as Stone looked at his mixed-species crew, at the fleets of former enemies now training together, at the planet below that had hidden such incredible secrets, he felt something his ancestors must have felt. Not fear, but determination. Earth had awakened, and with it, the galaxy's true potential. The stars awaited their answer. Asterisk.